One of the most infamous aspects of the reign of King Baelor the Blessed was his imprisonment of his three sisters in a Maidenvault in order to protect their virtue, but as some claim, also prevent himself from acting on his desires. Each of the three women who spent years of their life in this Maidenvault were each very different people, but all bonded by their shared circumstance. At first, there was pushback, especially from Daena, towards her brother when he declared his sisters would be placed in the vault, and even some of the small council dissented for a time. But at the end of the day, the king's will was the king's will, no matter how erratic, and thus dissenters soon fell quiet, as the three princesses were placed into the vault. Daena Targaryen by far is the most famed of the three sisters of Baelor the Blessed, and was the most loved by the small folk and courtiers alike, for her stunning beauty as much as her fierce courage and willfulness. Born in 145 AC, Daena was the third child and eldest daughter of King Aegon III and Queen Daena Velaryon. A Targaryen to the bone, she was strong, beautiful and willful, and like the rest of her siblings, had a Valyrian look. Her long silver gold hair was thick and curly, an untamed mane that framed her heart-shaped face and her sparkling purple eyes. To top it off, she had a fearless, "Are there anything?" smile. Daena often dressed dramatically. As a child, she wore black in emulation of her father. After her brother, Baelor, failed to consummate their marriage, she changed to all white. She always wore the golden three-headed dragon pendant she had inherited from her father. At court, she wore it on a fine golden chain. When she disguised herself as a peasant, she hung it on a leather thong and hid it beneath her clothes. Supposedly, she even wore it while bathing and when making love. She was known as a skilled horsewoman and a fearsome archer, particularly with the Dornish bow her late brother, King Daemon, had brought back from his conquests, and she was well practiced at riding rings, though she was never allowed to ride in a tourney, despite her efforts to the contrary. Daena quickly became known as the Defiant, for she was the most relentless of the three sisters in her imprisonment in the Maidenvault at the hands of her brother, King Baelor. It is said that on 3 separate occasions she managed to escape, disguised as a servant or one of the small folk. She even contrived towards the end of Baelor's reign to get herself with child, though some might say it would have been better had she been less defiant for all the trouble that son brought to the realm in the years to come. In late 170 AC, she gave birth to a bastard son, whom she named Daemon, after her grandfather, Prince Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince. She refused to name the father, who was suspected and eventually revealed to have been her cousin, Prince Aegon, later King Aegon. But the identity of Daemon's father was not revealed until 182 AC. The birth of Daena's son was one of the direct causes that led the fast of King Baelor that claimed his life. He fasted for 40 days, taking only water and a little bit of bread. On the 41st day of his fast, he was found collapsed before an altar of the mother. After Baelor's death in 171 AC, there were some amongst the small folk and the lords who felt that the Iron Throne should now pass to Daena, as she was King Aegon III's eldest surviving child. However, Daena had been isolated for a decade in the Maidenvault, which had left her and her sisters without any powerful allies. In addition, the memories of the Dance of the Dragons and of Rhaenyra Targaryen, the last woman to sit the Iron Throne, left many leery of the idea of a ruling queen. As well as Daena, she was seen by many as being wild, unmanageable, and wanton due to her giving birth to a bastard son the year before, while at the same time still refusing to name the father. The presidents of the Great Council of 101 AC, and then the Dance of the Dragons were cited, and the claims of Daena and her sisters were set aside, so the crown passed to their uncle, Viserys II Targaryen. The impact that Princess Daena Targaryen had on Westeros and its people cannot be understated in the least. While she was a pleasant girl who would never have foresaw the impact of her actions, her defiance would in years to come be the root cause of the bloodshed to soak the fields of the Seven Kingdoms once more, as the House of the Dragon tore itself apart anew in a civil war as infamous as the Dance of the Dragons. While it was a more conventional war than the Dance of the Dragons, it would plague House Targaryen till its downfall at the hands of Robert Baratheon. Daenerys' bastard son, with her cousin, King Aegon IV, would later become Daemon Blackfyre, when legitimized by his father, eventually starting what would become the subsequent Blackfyre rebellions. while Daena could not have known what her son would go on to become, and cannot be held responsible for neither Daemon's or King Aegon IV's choice to legitimize all its baseborn children, it can be said for sure that the birth of Daemon Blackfyre in 170 AC is one of the defining moments in the history of Westeros, and of House Targaryen, with its direct impact still being felt well into the Baratheon era of Westeros, 113 years later.